Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab.
Hello and welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab. My name is Adrian Hernandez. I am here today with Ezra Parter and Jackie K to talk Colorado Avalanche hockey on the eve of an Avalanche versus Seattle Kraken showdown tonight. And guess what? Our Colorado Avalanche have gotten themselves in the win category since our last episode. Hallelujah to that. So that's what we're going to be getting into today, along with a couple of other topics. We're going to touch on some of the young guns we looked at in the preseason, see how they're doing right now. We're, of course, going to preview that Kraken game, look ahead at the Utah game, the Senators game, the Blackhawks game, and last but not least, we'll touch on that new development announcement according to Ball Arena and NHL News and Bold Predictions. So we got a busy show today with lots and lots to talk about, with things happening between our last show and now. Folks, thank you for tuning in. We already have almost 100 live viewers. Please head on over to X, give us a follow there. Follow us on YouTube. Make sure you turn your alerts on so you know every single time we are live. And, of course, check out our catalog on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or just your preferred podcast platform. All right, you two, let's drop the puck. Let's talk about Colorado Avalanche. Let's talk about, I guess, I don't know, the Avs are on a 2-game winning streak. When last time we talked, they were on a 4-game losing streak. Funny how things work out. They continue a road trip tonight with Seattle. Start a road trip and continue that road trip against Utah Hockey Club on Thursday. Jackie, let's go to you first. What stood out to you in Colorado's victories to end last week, and what from those victories can they carry over into the next few games, including tonight?
Well, first of all, they played some easier opponents.
Fair.
But overall, you could tell that they played a better, more cohesive team game. I think their team defense was better. I guess you could say goaltending was better. So you'd like to see that continue. It just seemed like they built their game. They get a little confidence, things start going right, and so it's easier to build confidence on top of that. So I don't think there was anything like monumentally different. It's just more things working together in the right direction.
Yeah, I see that. And honestly, the thing that jumped out to me the most, and Ezra, you can touch on this if you agree, was it felt like the Avs, I know I hate this from when fans say they're not giving effort, but it did feel like the Avalanche were giving more effort on an all-around general basis. Do you agree with that, Ezra, in the last two?
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, I think effort's not necessarily the word I would use because it seems like the Avs were giving more of a consistent forecheck. They were more consistently. Is that me squeaking?
No, I think that was something in Jackie's background, but I turned her down just a little bit.
Okay.
To be fair.
What is that? Is that my voice?
Yeah.
It sounds like that. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think like we just saw the forecheck working. We saw the motor churning in a way that it
Right.
wasn't before. Like whether that's effort or not doesn't really feel right. I think they were working hard before, but it just felt like they made a commitment from the drop of the puck in the Anaheim game and really kind of the second period on in the Boston game to really be driving play constantly. No thinking about systems, just work, just play hard. And I think that's partly because the systems are more baked into these players, what they're doing on the ice.
Right.
They don't have to think about it as much. They know it more. I mean, we started this season with so many new pieces in the roster, whether that's young players or acquired players or whatever else, just guys who hadn't been, doing it in an Avalanche fashion for very many games in their lives. It took some time for them to gel, and it did feel like from that Boston game into that Anaheim game, they really did that. First period of the Sharks game too. That second period of the Sharks game was rough. And they got the win. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually, you're right. That's a better way of putting it. Maybe it wasn't the effort, but there was a commitment to what we've heard from Bednar say, I feel like, which is trust the process, commit to the process, and the results will come. And Anthony expands on that. Thank you, Anthony, for chiming in. He says limiting shots, controlling rebounds, endless push, and increasing shots on goal. I mean, you're right. That's the motto. That's the game plan every single night. Just sometimes, your opponent has other plans and it doesn't quite work out that way. And the Avalanche have been depleted. But you know what? I named this episode Win Now Mode because when the Avalanche rattled off their 2 victories, I slept really well that night. And I thought to myself, we can't let this team get away with, this being, oh, you guys can drop games. You're shorthanded. No, this is a win now mode situation still, because if you find a way to stay competitive in the rankings in terms of the standings with a depleted roster, when your roster starts to get really good, you could seriously set yourself up in terms of positioning in the playoffs. I know every single year as the playoffs approach, we talk about positioning and if it matters and what matchups we're looking for. I think home ice advantage at the end of the day matters for Colorado more than most places because of elevation. So I think if you can make that a part of the factor, and if you can win games with a sort of depleted roster and have the last 4 or 5 months of the season to really take a strong foothold of the division, now we're talking. Now we're really surprising people, and the Avalanche are scary at that point. So it's win now mode still. Jackie, what do you think of that?
Well, they have put themselves in a hole, and so it does get a little bit more magnified even this early. However, in general, I think that they focus too much on winning night to night. I mean, obviously you have to win most nights if you're going to make the playoffs, but it should be less on, because in the past Bednar wouldn't sit vets, and it's just kind of like this killing yourself to win on a Tuesday night against Ottawa.
Right.
It just, I think the big picture gets lost some, and so I still think that this team needs to find a better balance.
That's fair.
And like I said, now that they've started in a hole, it's going to be a little hard for them to find that balance and to actually utilize it. But I think it's something they need to be conscious of, because there are going to be some tough times coming. If you look ahead at the schedule, I think they have a 4-game road trip, a week at home over Thanksgiving against Vegas, Dallas, and Edmonton, 3 and 4 nights, and then a 5-game road trip. So that is going to kill them. So if you approach it where it's like you said, win now, everything's about winning. You have to do everything you possibly can to use all your resources and win night to night like that. You'll never get through it. So like I said, I'd like to see balance. Obviously, I'm not saying they shouldn't try to win.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm not saying take the night off. Who cares?
I guess I only mean in terms of a mindset. I agree with you. Like, I don't.
Well, yeah, of course you're going to try to win every game. Of course you are.
Yeah.
You're showing up and you're on the ice to win the game. But you know what I mean? You can't. Sometimes they just get a tunnel vision. I think they get too much into like we're going to kill ourselves to win this one particular game, when you need to be the end goal is to be the best you can be in the playoffs and when the playoffs start.
Right.
Yeah, right, at the right time. And so, like I said, I just like to see a little bit more balance.
Yeah, because we saw that when they won the President's Trophy, right, and lost to Vegas. Was like,
right, exactly.
They were a little burnt out, and it was all because we were trying in games 75 to 82 to win that President's Trophy. But I want to stick with you, Jackie, because we've heard from you a lot about the goaltending situation in Colorado. We saw Justus Annunen get his first start in a victory, and I want to know what you thought of his performance, and then I want to know if you think we see KK this week.
I thought Annunen was really good, and you could say, okay, it was the Sharks. That's why I look good. But you know what? He was in the net. He made it look easy. That's what you want. Drama-free. That's exactly the performance you want.
Right.
I think it set themselves up a big dilemma here, because if you were going to try to get Annunen through waivers, you don't want to put a good start on tape. I don't really know what the point of that was. This is why I hypothesized on the last show, maybe they're not even going to give him a start. So they have a back-to-back coming up at the end of this week. That's when I think it's very likely that you see Kahkonen. But like I've said all along, this was not a panic move after game 1. They've been planning this. So you do wonder what their plan is exactly here, because like I said, if you're going to try to sneak Annunen down, then why are you starting him? Like, what's the point of that? But then are they going to roll with 3? And like I've said before, it's a new strategy some teams employ, even though I don't really see this team doing it. And also, knock on wood, Georgiev has been very healthy. So it's not like they have a Kemper that gets hurt all the time and you're like, well, we're probably going to need 3 anyway. So I'm very interested to see what the other shoe that's dropping here, because something's going to happen. Like, it's not just like, oh, we have 3 goalies, that's great. Like something, there's another move. So I still think Annunen's the odd man out. He has the 2-year extension. They probably can still get him through waivers, but we'll see. Yeah.
Well, Ezra, you touch on what feels like a little bit of a goaltender conundrum now. I mean, obviously we don't want Georgiev to struggle. If Georgiev starts taking off, I mean, problem is kind of like not as important anymore. Obviously, you're talking more of who's his backup and yada, yada, yada. But we've talked about all preseason that we wanted to see Georgiev get sheltered a little bit. So I guess, what do you think of the situation? And do you agree with Jackie in terms of the back-to-back being a likely place for Kahkonen to get his first start in an Avs sweater?
I absolutely agree with that. I think we see him against Ottawa. That's my prediction. He'll play the Ottawa game. And then depending on how things have gone in the couple of games before that against Seattle and Utah, maybe we'll see Annunen in Chicago or Georgiev will get back in net right away. I wonder if we see Annunen again in Utah. I know I'm pretty sure we're going Georgiev tonight. I think I saw that. But I wonder if Annunen gets another look quickly, because they do have an interesting situation now where they have 3 goaltenders. Theoretically, all 3 are NHL capable. Honestly, I think Kahkonen's the one with the most to prove on that front at this point. I'm a big believer in Annunen, so I think that's a place where I think, Jackie, you're a believer in the person, but not in the organization's trust in him. So I won't say we differ on our belief in Annunen, but I think I believe in the Annunen as backup plan. I think that's the plan. I think Kahkonen was just a guy who they thought, oh, we have an opportunity to get this guy we like. We got to bring him in here. We have all these injuries. We have roster space. Let's see what happens.
Right.
And now, Annunen's playing well enough. I really don't think he clears waivers. I think he gets snapped up immediately. There's too many teams looking for goaltending right now. Like Pittsburgh would want. There's so many teams that would want a guy like that has some upside like he does. I really don't believe he can get through, even with that extra year on his contract. So I think they ride 3 until they can't anymore, and at that point they'll be forced to make a decision, and everybody's play will dictate what that decision is.
Yeah.
My guess, Kahkonen's back out of here, but we'll see. We'll see if he steps up and makes a really strong case for himself as a potential, 1A, 1B kind of player, then.
Well, here's the other
Wonderful.
thing that is the Avs love to ride a starter. So I don't think they're looking for sort of a 3-headed monster situation, which is the thing. I mean, if they wanted to roll that way, then they would not have started Georgiev all those games in a row.
Yeah.
5 games in a row. Like, they're trying to get their starter on track. They're trying to feed him, the time and the confidence. So I don't think that they're now going to go into like, every other game it's going to be one of the other 2. No. I just don't see that that's the way the Avs want to run their goaltending situation. Right. And so then it does become more urgent, I guess, because that's just not the way they operate. So I guess if Kahkonen's terrible, that makes it easy, but they're going to want to start Georgiev
what I'm expecting
more often than not. And so I don't think that we're going to see anybody different start until that back-to-back. Okay. And then it's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully we have like a really good problem on our hands. It's like, man, we got 3 goalies who are playing great. But at the same time, like then you have a choice, right? A difficult choice. Like, which one are you going to risk on the wire and yada, yada. But I think you guys are both like really spot on in terms of like the realism of the situation, which is that Kahkonen is just somebody that they had been targeting for a while, and he was up for grabs on a nearly free basis. You know what I mean? So they had to do it because why not? Like you said, they have the space in terms of contracts with so many guys and injuries. And well, why not see if their hunch about him is correct? I think that's really what we're looking at there. And I like that back-to-back against Ottawa as well, because not that Ottawa's a terrible team, but they're definitely not world beaters right now. So that would be a good place, I think, to start for a guy with a new club. But let's talk a little bit about some of the surprising trends, but one in particular that I'm fascinated with, which is Ross the Boss Colton on an absolute heater with 6 goals in 6 games. The top 5 NHL point getters in the NHL, among the top 5, there are Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Cale Makar. And the power play is still absolutely on fire at a 38.1%. And that's good enough for 3rd in the league right now. Ezra, of those 3 awesome trends, which of those 3 do you think is the most sustainable, but what of those 3 is most exciting to you?
Oh man, I mean, most sustainable. I think McKinnon, Rantanen, and Makar are going to finish in the top of the league in scoring every year for the rest of their careers, probably. So that feels super sustainable. Maybe not top 5, but definitely in the top 7 to 10.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if any of them drop much farther than that. But I think the most exciting for me is the power play. If the power play can be an asset all year, and every year there's lulls and hot streaks for the power play, but if it can stay at, I mean, 38% is even like, that's worse than it actually is, because they had a couple of goals right after power plays expired. So the true percentage is somewhere north of 40, and that's ridiculous. So I'd love to see that continue. If that can keep going, then their 5-on-5 struggles can be eased a little bit. Obviously not erased. You still have to do well at 5-on-5 to win, but that's such a big asset. And it's also kind of the reason for the other two in a way. The power play success is driven by Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Cale Makar, and it is causing Ross Colton to be such an effective goal scorer. But if it continues, man, there's so much more hope for this season to turn around quickly if the power play is still hot.
Yeah, totally. And I like those 2 picks. Jackie, do you agree with those 2 picks? Are you most excited about the power play and most sustainable the core kind of keep scoring like that? Or what's your answer to that question?
Yeah, I'd probably say those 3 scoring is the most likely to stay. It's possible the power play could be up. I mean, I think when Edmonton's and Toronto's were really good, they could sustain a 30-ish% for a season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if we think the power play can be that sort of true game changer, then it could hum along at that. I don't know, just because we've seen this power play and we kind of see what their equilibrium is, and it is more like a 20% power play because it gets stagnant and stale. But maybe with personnel coming in and out, that will kind of help keep it fresh. I don't know. I'm not 100% believer in this power play, so I can't really pick that one.
Yeah.
I like I said, I think it is possible, but I think it needs some tweaks to get there.
Well, let's talk a little bit though about like Ross Colton and how that seems to be working. Is that something we always knew about Ross Colton, or is this coming as a surprise that he fits well inside of like the Avs power play scheme? I know like some of the competition has been lackluster, but I mean still 6 goals in 6 games. He's on an 82 goal pace.
I'll say this about Colton, is I feel like he gets motivated when he gets moved up in the lineup. So that's the thing. Is he going to be there? Probably not. That's Drouin's spot. Is he even really second choice? I don't know. Like, I think it's good that they know it can work, and that's a look that can work, because they always have to have options and needs to shuffle, but he doesn't keep his game at the same level. I think, like, if people come back and he's on the second line or on the third line, he's not going to produce like that, which part of it you would expect, but part of it is like he just can't keep it up like that. And I think you can even just tell the energy in his play when he plays up in the lineup. He definitely gets like a bummed out vibe when he's on the
Yeah.
third line. You can tell. Like, he was doing pretty good on the second line, and they traded for Middlestat, and he was kind of like, let's be honest, checked out a bit last year. So I don't know. I still kind of expect that from him, but it's nice that he's stepped up, that he's filled that sort of role, but I do think it's temporary.
Fair. I think that's fair. And what I think we're seeing is like his skill set is pretty suited towards what he's being asked right now. And like you said, playing with elevated line mates always helps.
And it's not easy. Like, not everybody
No.
could do it either.
Exactly. He kind of reminds me a little bit like, I don't know, like he is a player that plays better, kind of like Burakovsky. Like, he plays better with better line mates.
Or sort of, maybe this is a weird comparison, but like a Jamie McGinn back in the day.
Yeah, that's a good
like
one.
He's not a guy you would have in the top 6 all the time, but like when he did, it was like it worked.
It worked, right?
If I could remember that far back. But that's sort of the feeling that I have, which is good. It is kind of a Swiss Army knife type of player, but I think it also will be frustrating because it's like, oh, why can't you do that all the time? And it's just so situation dependent.
Well, when you say that, why can't you do that all the time? I immediately think of Andre Burakovsky. So that's why I likened that
Yeah.
comparison. But
He also was like a luxury third liner.
yeah, exactly. Well, we spent a lot of the offseason talking about our young guns. We did a whole ticker and saw who we thought was going to make the team. And we were pretty much right because we couldn't be wrong. We were following the dialogue ourselves. So we knew who was going to make the team. But since we've seen 6 games for some of these guys, including young Callum Ritchie, Ezra, he's got 6 games played, which means I believe he has 3 more games to play. And then that 10th game would be burning his first year of his entry-level contract. What are your thoughts on him so far? And how do you feel about him sticking around? Do you think he almost has to because of a lack of bodies?
Well, I loved his goal. That was a great feed from Manson and a great finish. An easy tap in to an extent, but also he had to get himself there and make it happen. So we've seen Kovalenko miss some similarly great opportunities, and not everybody can bury him. So that was great, and I think his play overall has improved as he's gone on, but it's still. I mean, all the metrics say he's the worst forward on the team by a mile. So it's not good. I don't think he is NHL ready, and I think that that's not really a surprise. Getting these 9 games is great, and if he ends up getting more and they burn that entry level contract and keep him on the roster until more bodies get back healthy, I don't have a problem with that. I think to an extent he's learning more in the league than he's gonna benefit from playing in Oshawa again. There are benefits to that too, getting to be a go-to guy, getting to have the puck on his stick all the time. Those are important things for development as well. So I'm kind of cool either way. I think he learns different things in those 2 different places. But I don't think he can last the whole season in the NHL. He's not ready for that. And when bodies start coming back, he won't have a role that's really reasonable for him. For me, I think I probably expect him to get sent back after the 9 games because I don't think the Avs are going to want to burn that ELC. I personally do want to burn the ELC. That's how I would handle it if I was a general manager, but I'm not, so I'm probably wrong. But I think he's been improving, but he's just not there yet, and that makes sense. That's not a knock on the kid.
Well, Jackie, I want you to respond to that, and I want you to respond to this too, because Peterman says, I'm on board with Jackie postulating Ritchie could stay for 20 to 30 games. What's your response to Ezra's, I guess not that maybe criticism, for lack of a better term? Do you agree with that? And do you think he'll stick around, or is he here for the 9 games and back to the O?
Okay, well, I'm having this fight between my head, my heart, and my gut.
Yeah.
So, but 2 of the 3 is going to win out here, and that's he's staying. So I'll explain why. My heart is the one that says no, because I fully can't believe that the Avs are ever going.
I didn't expect your heart to be the negative one at all.
Yeah. Because I refuse to believe that the Avs, I mean, you're just never going to bet on them choosing youth. I just can't go there. But my head and my gut are feeling like he's staying. And it goes back to what I've been saying all summer. It was never about performance. It's about commitment. They've already made the decision. Let's be honest. like people are acting like, well, if he scores a goal or if he has like an amazing breakaway in the next 2 games and he's staying. And that's just so not how they're approaching this. Yeah. Like they've made a commitment on a lot of younger 19-year-olds in the past. There was Jost and Gerard and Byram and and it goes back to another thing that I said, they don't do trials. Bednar doesn't want guys hanging around that are irrelevant. And he's put in a lot of work. He's talked about a lot of one-on-one time with Ritchie. There's a lot of other things that he said that I don't necessarily want to get into all of them. But if you really listen to his pressers and you really listen to what he's saying it more like he's staying. He says he has a role in the top 9 and the injuries will dictate it. And then people take that as, oh, well, we're going to get all these 3 guys back, but they're not getting them back on Monday. They have 0 of them back on Monday. Here's another thing. I would say most of the kids that do the 9-game trials do not do 9 consecutive games.
Good point.
It gets milked. It gets stretched out. If the Avs are looking on the calendar and saying, we got to get him to at least maybe when Lehkonen gets back, then why is he playing every single game?
Yeah.
And Wagner was even on the roster for the San Jose game.
Mm-hmm.
So Wagner was in San Jose in the press box. That would have been an easy, let's sit Richie this game, because they have 3 games in 4 nights coming up. If you want to get him through at least that to have bodies, then why is he continuing to play? So I think he's going to stay, and I think people are going to be surprised. But like I said, I think it's about commitment. It's about, they've already made the decision. They made the decision in training camp. Let's be honest. So, and also I think if it was just about a reward and a pat on the back and a little experience, why is he even on this road trip? Like, the homestand, the 5 games would have been perfect, and then you'd still have games left over in the spring just in case. You never know what your needs are, if he's available, etc. Like, the whole 9, like, play him exactly 9 and then he goes. It's just such a rigid sort of, it doesn't make logical sense. So I will say, I think it's possible they send him back after this road trip, but if he plays in that Ottawa game, the first of the 3 and 4, he is staying. Like, they're not going to have him play against Ottawa on Sunday and then be like, oh, but you're gone on Monday. Bye-bye. Yeah. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So,
well,
but
listen to your heart.
But like I said, I know that we could be having this podcast a week from now and being like, oh, well, you were wrong. They sent Richie back. And I'll be like, yeah, I mean, come on. like, of course, they'll get rid of the kids. But to answer the question, I'm sorry, I forget who asked that.
You're okay.
I do think that I still would love him to go to World Juniors. I think even if he stays, I hope they're progressive enough, because that is a way to send him back to junior, but able to bring him back. And I think camp starts around the beginning of December. A lot of NHL guys don't get sent right away, but if miraculously the Avs are healthy and Richie's playing on like the 4th line, you can send him early. It's a way to send a guy to junior for a month. And I just think the experience that he would get at World Juniors, that's going to be huge for his development. So I do think
it's always nice to just go off for a second. You know what I mean? Against
and a lot of times it doesn't happen because the thinking is like, you don't get a vacation from the NHL. Like, if you're an NHL player, that's where you stay. But I really hope the Avs are being progressive. As I said before, that was sort of the plan with Dylan Guenther, and that kind of worked out. So
really worked out.
There's still room in there to do different things, which I'm fine with. But if I had to say, I think he will be here a week from today.
I love it. We have 525 live viewers right now who just heard it first from Jackie that Callum Ritchie will probably stick around, at least according to her head. And
I know. I don't want to hear it if I'm wrong. I don't want to be like, you were wrong. I'm going to be like bummed, and I'm going to be like, I'm not talking to anybody.
Jackie might sign off early on the show if we start going down that road. But we are now joined by our newest addition at Mile High Hockey, Mr. Brennan Vogt. Brennan, thank you very much for joining us. I want to get your thoughts. Do you agree with Jackie on the Cal Ritchie talk? And then I want to get into our next segment where we're going to preview some of the games up ahead. So first, what are your thoughts on Cal Ritchie, and how are you doing today, my friend?
Well, Cal Ritchie's he's had some rough games. He hasn't had bad games, but he's had some rough games. The Sharks games particularly, he couldn't stay on his feet quite a bit. He'd go into the corner and just, you could see his feet just go out from under him. And I don't know if that's a leg strength thing, because I would do that when I was skating. I don't, you can't really say that that's lack of knowledge of how to skate, because the boy can skate. We all know he can. For me, it's lack of knowledge. But and we know he can make his way to the net. We've seen him do it before. But like she was saying, it's why would they go on a youth movement right now when they've got all this talent that's just waiting in the wings when it gets healthy or unsuspended?
Yeah.
Assuming everything
that.
goes right with the suspension, knock on wood.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong with that. And let's
I mean,
talk.
it took Duran like 10 minutes to get hurt. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So
Very true.
Yeah. Well, somebody said in a comment, because I put out my timeline thing, and somebody commented on it, which I thought was hilarious. They're like, we have more of a Jacob's ladder situation going on here rather than a timeline. It's like, as soon as this guy comes off the IR, this gentleman is now on the IR.
That's so wrong.
Yeah.
I think you just kind of got to assume that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to happen. And like I said, those 2 huge road trips, they're going to lose guys on those road trips.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the games that are coming up, including tonight's game. And Brandon, in the background of our broadcast here, you said you had some things on Ross Colton. I'll start then by asking you, Utah's off to a hot start. They're 4-1-1, as Jackie kind of saw coming. Winnipeg off to a hot start, 5-0. Dallas is off to a hot start, 5-0-1. But Ross Colton is off to a hot start with 6 goals in 6 games. What do you have for me? And are you expecting him to continue that tonight against Seattle?
I'm not surprised about Ross Colton because I've been watching him since he was a rookie. And you can see behind me, I've got a little lightning.
Oh, yeah. I see it.
Lightning thing behind me. But, he did clinch a Stanley Cup for him. So no big deal. But I think it was against it may have been the Montreal series. But no, that was Dallas. COVID got me all screwy.
Yeah, that's okay.
But no, he clinched one of the series, and anytime he got moved up in the, like she was saying, he got moved up. It's like LOC. He performs well. It's an encouragement. He forechecks even harder. He just goes even faster. He'll throw people into the wall even harder. He goes right to the crease even more. It just encourages his game even more.
And then he sellies harder. So I mean,
yes, and I love it.
Yeah, me too. Well, I started this question with the 3 hot teams in the Central Division, and I did that because I was trying to call back, to the way the other question started, which of these 3 things are most sustainable? So that question I will pose to you, Ezra, of the Utah, Winnipeg, and Dallas hot starts. Which of those 3 is most sustainable, and who will stay on that trajectory in November?
Oh, it's got to be Dallas. I mean, that team looks loaded. They're so good. Winnipeg is the same team it's always been, riding Hellebuck, right? So as long as he's hot, they'll be hot, and he's good. Utah, we'll see. I think they have a little more of a youth movement going on there in themselves, and that can be an up and down experience. But they do have a plenty of talented veteran players as well too. So maybe that's sustainable. But man, those Dallas Stars, they are very good, and I think we all knew that coming into the season that they were going to be prime competition here in the Central. But I don't see them cooling off anytime soon. They're very good.
Yeah. Jackie, do you agree with that?
Sure. I do think Dallas is kind of the cream of the crop there. I will say, I was looking at the standings. I was surprised that Winnipeg was doing so well just because you never hear about them. And I think they got dismissed a little bit. Now, I know we saw Hellebuck falter, and there's a reason why Avs fans would feel like that way, that Winnipeg's overrated. But I think they tend to get a little underrated because they don't get the credit they deserve. So, I mean, they've been a good team. We know Hellebuck's good. They have guys that can score. So I think when they have a start like that, they probably do deserve a little bit more talk. Utah, everyone knows how I feel. I think it's their year to take another step. Now, does that mean win the division or stay at the top? Like Ezra said, that's probably tough because they have some young guys, so it might be a little bit more up and down. But I think they're on a good path to a playoff berth. I did
Mhm.
want to mention 2 other teams in the league. So I know you wanted to keep it Central Division focused,
That's
but
fine.
just 2 teams that I find that are interesting to me. One is Calgary because they were left for dead pretty much. Everyone's like, oh, they're rebuilding. It's like they haven't got rid of all the vets yet. So
Yeah.
I think
Huberdeau's
they were
back, maybe.
too easily written off. I know that they haven't spent all their cap, which is one reason why people feel that way. But hey, that's just a lot of deadline money
Yeah.
if you think about it. And then
That's true.
2, New Jersey. I think they had a down year last year, but they're a team that it's kind of the path. Like a young team will take a step back, have a down year, but they were good the year before.
Yep.
They have a good start now, and so I think
Exactly.
New Jersey could be one of the better teams this year. I think that could be sustainable.
Yeah, because they were like a sexy pick last year, and it kind of came up short of that. And I think you're right. Like that sets them up well this year to kind of overperform based on those expectations, kind of coming back down to earth a little bit. I like those 2 teams as well. I'm also kind of looking at the Kraken, and I can't really decide. They have some injury problems similar to the Avalanche. But Brendan, tell me, are you concerned with the matchup tonight? Do you think the Kraken are off to a decent start? They've won 3 straight. What do you think the Avs will have to focus on to end Seattle's 3-game winning streak?
Getting Eberle? No, it's joking.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Well, yeah, stopping Eberle because he's been on a little bit of a tear lately, but Grubauer still knows how to stop him, assuming he's got the start. I'm not sure if he does. And then let's see, Vince Dunn's on LTIR, so they don't have to worry about him.
Yeah.
Other than that, those are the only things I'm really concerned about, to be honest.
Well, tell me, what do you think of the 3 Central Division teams and their hot starts? Which of those, in your opinion, will stay on the same trajectory in November?
Dallas.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
no question.
Yeah. That's a reasonable pick based on what we saw last season and how basically they got a little bit better in the offseason. They're sticking around with Ottinger. That's a game, and every time the Avalanche play Dallas, that I will be watching with passionate eyes. Probably not in the company of any loved ones outside of my immediate circle, because I tend to let a few expletives fly when I'm watching Avs and Dallas. But let's keep it here with kind of what we're looking at this week. And folks, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're just tuning in now, this is the Mile High Hockey Lab, and I'm here with Ezra, Brandon, and Jackie. We have about 600 live viewers right now. If you could, please head on over to X, give us a follow there at Mile High Hockey, and to the podcast itself at all caps MHH_lab. And if you're a Twitcher, head on over there. You can participate in the show in the comments. I'm actually going to throw a little banner up to cue everybody who's just listening or just watching and maybe getting captions. Be sure you give us your bold predictions now, so later on in the show we can shout them out. Let's talk a little bit about what we've seen from our very own Brennan Vogt in terms of footage of guys hitting the ice here in Colorado. We'll start with this one here, Brennan, and I did rip your footage. Hope you don't mind. But this is Mr. Val
It's our
Nichushkin.
footage.
That's right. This is Mr. Val Nichushkin, first time on the ice. His reinstatement, I believe, is November 13th, if I'm recalling that correctly.
That's right.
But he's allowed to skate without the team. What did you see in those initial skates?
Well, first off, I want to be clear who he is skating with, because I got a lot of questions about who he's skating with. He's skating with Mark Popovich of Ignite Hockey. He's a local hockey coach, former NHLer, who lives in the area, and so he's helped out with like development camps and stuff like that. He has no affiliation with the Avalanche.
Right.
So that was like one of the big things, is that Nichushkin could not participate or be doing any skates with any team members or any coaches or anything like that. So that guy you see in the blue jumper jumpsuit in the back there, that's Mark Popovich.
Okay.
But his hands are still quick. Because like usually when you see a guy get injured, that's the first thing you lose is your hands. We're seeing an example of that with Landy. He's trying to get his hands back, at least the last time I saw him.
Mm-hmm.
And he just came back to altitude, so I mean his conditioning needs a little bit of work, but I would expect, give it a week or two and he'll be back with his conditioning. But the coach is pushing him on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just nice to see Nichushkin back on the ice. And to be honest with you, like, I think we sort of glanced over it in our last show, which was like, how concerned should we be about him and whether or not he skated in the meantime of all of this fiasco? Could you really get a feel on that? Or is that what you're saying when you say he still needs conditioning?
Oh, he needs conditioning as in terms he just got to altitude.
Gotcha.
It's like bringing Ezra from California to Colorado and telling him to run a mile. I mean, come on.
I could barely walk to the stadium.
Exactly. It's the altitude's going to kill you. So it's just a matter of him coming from. I think. I'm not sure where he lives in Russia exactly, but I know it's not nearly as high as where we're at.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Well, I'm just excited to see how things roll. And it's honestly awesome to see that I'm going to call that guy Pop because his last name's Popovich. So we're just going to call him Pop.
What his nickname was.
Yeah, we're going to call him Pop. And I'm happy that he's out there with somebody that's kind of local, because I know he's not supposed to be with anyone affiliated with the Avs, but I'm hard pressed to believe that the Avalanche didn't have any say in who he is practicing with. So that's good. But the other person that I have up here on the screen now is Jonathan Drouin, and you have footage of him skating, I believe today, in a red sweater, non-contact sweater. I don't know who he's trying to tell to not contact him with no one else on the ice, but I get it. Starting to feel like my mess up of the reevaluation on October 28 was more leaning more towards accurate than incorrect. Now, how do you feel about that?
Well, this is the only video I got of him, but there were some things I ran into with security and all that fun stuff, but right. We'll go into that later. But he was on, right after this, actually, he was passing over to where McKinnon normally is, like doing saucer passes. So he's missing his buddy.
Got to get him a cardboard cutout in a bucket so he
can just throw the bucket over there and set it up for the one-timer practices or something. But from what I could see, he was moving pretty well. I didn't see any hindrances in his movement or anything like that.
Well, that's good. Because go ahead, Jackie.
In the video, it looked like he was kind of going slow, or like kind of all the movement was in one direction. I believe this is the first time he's even skated so it's been like several weeks. So I don't think he's playing on Monday. First of all, he'd be with the team if he was playing on Monday. I think his timeline's probably going to be about what the others are, like mid-November-ish. Mm-hmm. I think they're all kind of looking at November 13th-ish. So that's kind of what I would expect.
Well, we can expect a lot of cap shenanigans at that point.
Yeah. Well,
Landy's on LTIR, so I mean, I'll just use his money.
Well, when I started to assess the new injuries, the Tays, the Drouin, and what was seemingly the Miles Wood injury, I had Drouin pegged as probably the likely to be the first one back. As it turns out, that was Miles Wood, who just had tremendous amount of stomach pain, but was apparently fine according to doctors. So that's good. But now it's starting to feel like we might get Tays back before Drouin as well. Based on because Tays was pulled off of IR, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because his IR was retroactively placed, so he was on it as of, however, I think it was like the second game, right?
Well,
correct? Okay, yeah. So as it feels right now, I mean, it kind of feels like Druin's going to be the last one to come back out of all of those guys.
Well, and Druin's was retroactive too.
Okay. So that's good.
So he can technically, Druin can be taken off at any time as well. It's just a matter of when is he ready.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. That's kind of an update on our injury situation here for the Colorado Avalanche. And that just leaves us with our final segment where we're going to talk a little bit about that Avs new development ballerina style, some NHL news, and our bold predictions. Let's first touch on that announcement for the new development. And folks, please head on over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts for our full catalog of episodes. We talk a lot about the Avalanche as it pertains to them being a business as well. This was a business move for the Avalanche. Have any of you had a look at kind of what's been proposed yet?
Oh, for sure. It looks very interesting, but the scale of it, in the news article, one woman said it could be up to 40 high rises. I mean, that's like an entire downtown. City. This is more than just a couple buildings. Like the Elitch's portion of that looks like it's going to be filled entirely with high rises. I mean, that's like a second downtown. It's just amazing that this is what they're planning. But with that, this allegedly it was quoted as a 30-year plan in in another article. And so it's weird to me. I'll say if you look at the parking lot, it's just such wasted space.
Oh yeah.
Like it needs something. There's all of one restaurant there. They don't even have their own hotel. It's just, it's weird to me that it's all or nothing. Like, can't you just develop a little bit of it? Can't you just add something? Can't you just get some
We're talking about
down there?
Billionaires. We're talking about billionaires here, though. That's why.
But it's the space is making zero. So,
well,
so it's also that.
Early noters say hopefully that includes training facilities. They haven't really been clear on that because Brandon, you're shaking your head no.
Yeah, it's nothing's been said about it.
Yeah,
it's such a minuscule part of it. It's like they're not even going to move forward with, if it's anywhere in there in the list of everything that they have in mind. Who knows? Who knows what phase that is? Who knows what portion of it, what they have earmarked for it? It's just it's crazy that them getting a practice facility hinges on this sort of monumental, generational urban development plan for the entire city. So
Nuggets and Avs need a practice facility? Let's buy 55 acres and do a whole new city. Yeah, that's...
exactly. And then my other question is, well, then by then, don't you need to revamp Ballerina? You're going to have billions of these new built, and then you kind of have like mid Ballerina just sitting there. It just doesn't seem to match.
For not a meme person, you just used mid really well.
I know, and I'm super old, so I used mid.
Well, the Nuggets practice at ball. So,
and they hate it too.
Yeah,
it's cold.
I haven't been in that space because I never had a need to because I was an Avalanche writer. So there's no need for me to go up to the fourth floor and actually go up to the third floor and see the Nuggets facility. But I knew the locker room was pretty good, but I'd heard that the gym was just awful.
It wouldn't surprise me. I've seen videos of inside of that gym, and it does strike me as very much, a junior high.
High school type thing.
Yeah, exactly. So
and then everybody's seen video of family sports, but you got to keep in mind that one is publicly funded, and then two, on the other side of that wall, that is all stuff that has been built by the Avalanche themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So you go in one door, and then it is so nice because you have a hangout room, you have a locker room that's been remodeled, you have medical facilities, a coach's office, and then upstairs you have their like workout area and stuff like that. So, which has been newly renovated, and a sauna has been added because that was what Landy and McKinnon asked for as part of their contract. And I'm not joking.
That'll boy. Way to go, boys. Stick it to the man.
Maybe they should have
Yeah,
asked for more.
Yeah, right. Well, when you're
Well-
adding on to a publicly funded building, you can
Yeah.
only ask for so much.
Well,
I gotta
that's
talk to my
exciting.
boss.
What's that, Ezra? I'm sorry.
I got to talk to my boss. Put one in here.
Yeah, exactly.
I work from home.
Yeah. So is your lady your boss then? You better talk to her.
Oh no, I meant my boss, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm excited. I'll be 60 by the time it's done. So I'll my son will wheel me up there and we'll have a great time.
Well, me and Jackie are going to be older.
Yeah.
I know. Will we
Yeah.
even be alive by then? Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I
let's.
believe in you.
I believe in you guys. Yeah, we'll all go there together for like a geriatric field trip or something like that, and we'll have a great time. It's a reunion, and we all made it. But
Reunion. The podcast is going to be going.
yeah, we'll be doing this for 30 straight years. See you there. But let's talk a little bit about some league-wide news. One thing that's really fun is today is the Frozen Frenzy, one of the Frozen Frenzy days, where all 32 NHL teams will be facing off, and they're doing like a whip around coverage similar to like NFL Red Zone, which I love. I don't know how applicable it is to hockey. I guess they're going to do it with sort of like with power play chances and sustained zone time whip around coverage. It's kind of quick though, so I feel like some of the stuff is just inevitably going to have to be delayed, but I'm excited still. It'll be great programming, and I will be absolutely consuming it right up until the Avalanche start, and then I'll be watching the Avs. But the other thing that I wanted to see what you guys thought about, which we hear all the time about how we weren't too pleased with the NHL going with Fanatics. Well, Fanatics is actually now partnered with Lululemon and the NHL to release some apparel that they call like go-to gear. So this is supposed to be like lifestyle clothing that you could wear as a normal person when you work out and stuff like that. How do you feel about the way the NHL is gearing their apparel with Fanatics now? How do you guys think of that?
Well,
Well, my
Jackie's
question-
the only woman to. So let's start with the Lululemon aspect.
I actually, I don't have any Lululemon, so probably won't appeal to me. But I mean, I remember when there was nothing for ladies, pretty much, and the lady cut. I hate the ladies cut jerseys; those are terrible.
So does my wife.
But
yeah.
The more choices is great. Like, I don't have a problem with that because everybody has different style. Everybody, maybe you want to look more athletic, maybe you want to look more cute, chic, whatever. So that's cool. But at this point, how is Fanatics not a monopoly?
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
And just hearing more and more of this, it's just cannibalizing more and more. Like, you can't even. It's maybe not impossible, but it is very difficult now to buy anything that's not Fanatics.
Yeah, agreed.
And how is that right?
Yeah, I like the Mitchell and Ness hats, I believe. I'm glad that they at least gave a contract for the hats to kind of a hat company that's focused on making hats. That's cool. I think the Fanatics jerseys, like they're re-releasing the Authentics, and they're like $100 more expensive than the Adidas were when the Adidas were also Authentics with jersey straps. Is just ridiculous. And
I actually am okay with that because they have not had a true authentic jersey for years, probably 8 years or something. That what they called authentic was not game specific. So it's good that there's an option for the people that want to buy that, because what you had to do before was get a game worn jersey, because whatever Adidas was calling authentic was not even close.
Okay.
So
and Adidas actually got sued for it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So I'm okay that there's that price point because it serves a purpose. It's not just about ripping fans off. So I think Fanatics has 4 levels, if I believe now, and so
I think I covered it in one of my articles when I was with the rink.
And I think the middle 2 are more kind of like what premium level what fans would buy, which I think is about the same price. So
Gotcha.
I think it's okay. That's not like a bad thing that they did, because there's definitely a need in the marketplace for people that want to have that exact, authentic, on the ice specific type
Yeah.
jersey.
Well, cool. That's good to know. I didn't really know that was the case. So that's see, we're learning here today on the Mile High Hockey Lab. And
Jersey
folks,
collecting is interesting.
it's a thing.
I've followed a little bit of it. It is very, very interesting.
Well,
Yeah,
we have. Go ahead, Brandon.
If you go to the subreddit hockey jerseys and just ask what's the difference between a Mick and a regular jersey,
you'll get you'll get flooded with comments.
Oh yeah, and Mick is made in Canada, and then a regular jersey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's the one with like the LHN logos and everything for
LHN is French.
Yeah. So you'll get those on like Ottawa's and in Montreal, and that's it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you get the higher price point on the ones that have like the has like a dual stitch layer on the sleeve.
The shoulders are bigger for shoulder pad for the pads.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's got an elbow patch for falling and it doesn't rip. It's got a fight strap. Usually it's a thicker material to begin with.
Okay.
And then I think right now they would have to have the ads. Then the ads make it authentic, so people want it with the ads on it.
Yes, I think you can pay to get it without the ads. You can pay like extra. It's like $20 extra to get it without the ads.
Can I pay to get Altitude to not talk about the ads? Because that would be wonderful. Because they spent like an entire game talking about that ad that they put on the jersey. But let's get into
the jersey. You get Mosier.
Yeah,
it comes with a radio. Mosier just talking about
Mosier complaining about his seagull.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say
I think
earlier,
I've only watched one Altitude broadcast to this point, so
we dropped the ball
maybe
so
lucky
hard.
me.
Earlier at the beginning of the show, Jackie had a bird coming through loud and clear.
It was a bird. I'm sorry.
Oh my
it was
I
a
wasn't
seagull.
even by the window. That's how loud that bird was.
They were just trying to interrupt. But let's get into our bold predictions. Let's hash out what we had last week. We don't have Evan today, but we'll still give him what he's due. But let's start with you, Ezra. You said that Kovalenko would score against the Ducks last week. Unfortunately, it was that
did get his first NHL point.
Yes, he was close.
He was.
Yeah.
He was very close. I'd say he should get half a point for that one.
Okay, fair. We'll give you a ding. It's just the beginning of the ding.
Thank you.
If I start to get dings for close, I'm in.
Yeah, Jackie's list is just going to get too long if she gets dings for close. Because what do you know, Jackie? You predicted that Georgiev will start every single game until he won, and that was correct.
Yeah, that was easy-ish. I
think you expected it to go longer.
Ding,
yeah,
but I was prepared for it to go longer.
I had Matt Steinberg to score his first career goal. That did not happen.
He was close too. That
he
deflection,
was close.
Yeah. I was sitting in the stands at the Duck game, going Steiny goal, Steiny goal, Steiny goal, Steiny
goal. Evan, who's not with us today, had Avs to go winless before our next show.
I think it was sort of like a invest in a wrong bet for, for a couple wins.
He's kept saying reverse psychology, so he was trying to psych out the hockey gods. And then Brandon, you said that Annunen would get to start against the Ducks with only 2 goals allowed. You're sort of right,
close, and
you were almost exactly right, as he gave up 3 goals, but he did start that game. So I'll still give you the half ding that I gave Ezra.
But he didn't start. It was
no, that was Georgiev.
Oh, I'm sorry. He started.
I was going to say,
but he would have been right for the San Jose game because he only gave up 1, right? So
yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. I was thinking about the goal count, not the goalie.
Yeah,
so that's correct. That's correct. So that just leaves us with this week's bold predictions. Did we get any from the crowd, folks? You got to chime in. Anthony, we still got you on here, and Peterman. If you guys have any bold predictions, now's the time. But first, let's play the music.
Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I call that bold talk.
All right. Let's start with you, Jackie. Does that sound good?
Sure. And I'll make another prediction that I sort of teased earlier. I will say Richie does not play 9 games. It's not 9.
So he plays more?
8. So it's more or less.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty confident. that I'm right, at least right about this.
Fair
so
enough.
it's
We
not
have
going to be
a
exactly
prediction
9.
from Peter.
We have a prediction from Peter.
Okay.
We'll double back to him. Go ahead, Jackie.
Oh no, I'm done. I'm just saying it's not 9 exactly. It'll be more
Okay.
or less. I know I talked about I'm hedging more, but for the official bold prediction, I would just say it will not be 9 exactly.
Ooh, okay. I like this one. We're doubling back. We're circling back to Kovalenko's first goal from Peterman. Peterman, if you're right, we are going to get you on the next program and we're going to give you your ding.
Is it tonight or is it just before the next show?
I think, well, Brennan
I guess
is
all of our
on it.
predictions are before the next show. So
Brennan's on it, though. He said when. So he wants to know that same thing. But I like it, Peterman. Thank you. We'll double back. And Jackie, you said it before. I forget to write it down. Richie does not play 9 games, either
or
less
9 exactly.
or more.
Yeah,
exactly. Okay. Ezra, what do you got for me today?
I've got a Taves goal in his first game back, which could be tonight, could be next game.
I love it. Taser scores in his first goal, his first game back.
Peter says tonight.
Really?
All right, Pete. I like it.
that's true. You don't have to be game specific.
I like it. That's real bold, baby. Peterman, we're putting you down.
That's calling your shot, though.
That's right, dog. Peterman.
It almost worked for me last time. I hope it works for you.
Yeah, exactly. First goal tonight. That would be wonderful. All right. That just leaves Brandon and me. Brandon, what you got for me?
So since we're doing these once a week, I say 10 goals in Ottawa scored against or for like in that game.
Total goals.
10 total goals in the Ottawa game.
Their games against Ottawa have been crazy.
Yeah, they've been barn
I
burners.
could see that one. I'd bet the over on that one.
Yeah, because I think last time they played each other, it was like 15 goals or something like that. It was insane.
Yes.
All right.
And Ottawa's already had an 8-7 game this year.
It's true.
Yeah. And the Avs just, you don't need me to tell you what our average goals against looks like right now.
Yeah.
So that just
Doesn't
leaves
bode well for Kahkonen if that's the start he gets.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised nobody's made a goalie bold prediction.
Well, I'm about to now.
Okay. Nudge you to it.
And I bet you can guess which one it is because I got 2 bold predictions basically, and it's hat trick and it's shutout, baby. And I'm calling a shutout tonight. I don't even know who's playing. Is it Georgiev? I'm assuming it's Georgiev.
They didn't have morning skate. I don't think it's like official, but it's probably, I'd say Georgiev.
I'm just gonna say it doesn't even matter who's in net.
You're
calling a shutty?
Getting a shutout tonight, and they're gonna lose 8-0, and everyone's gonna come to this broadcast and be like, "How dare you? Look what you did!" But it doesn't work like that. If it did, me changing my jersey every period would have worked last year in the playoffs, and it didn't. So there you go. That is my bold prediction. So that would be a cool night if we combine all of ours. We're getting a shutout. We're getting Richie to play less than 9 games. We're getting Taser to score in his first game back, and Covey's getting his first goal tonight too. So we get a Covey goal and a shutout tonight. I mean, come on, that would be pretty fun.
Tiny goal would be nice too.
Yeah,
you gotta predict it. You gotta
That's
predict
right.
it.
I'll throw it on there. Steiny goal. I am such a Matt Steinberg fan.
Yeah, dude, he's awesome. I also like Steinberg. That's why he was my pick last week. So you and me were both screaming Steiny goal at that moment. So, and he almost had that deflection.
It's just because I'm a huge fan of his. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, folks, thank you so very much for tuning in. This is our 77th edition of the Mile High Hockey Lab. We have 737 of you watching right now. Please head on over to X and give us a follow at Mile High Hockey and at all caps MHH_lab. And of course, head over to the website where we have all of our written material newly acquired off the, I wouldn't say you're a waiver acquisition, Brendan. You're too valuable. There's no way.
Free agent signing.
Free agent signing. That's what we're talking.
Or was it a trade?
Trade. It wasn't even a trade because you guys didn't give up anything.
That's right, baby.
Well,
it was a fleece.
We're calling you our July 1 signing.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, head on over there. You'll see all of Brandon's work fresh off the press, Jackie and Ezra, as well as myself. We got previews, recaps, opinion pieces, pretty much anything as related, hockey related. We will have you covered there. And of course, tune in next Tuesday. We will be back in front of you and in your ears. And of course, look back and see as we publish this episode tomorrow. It will be available on all your preferred podcast platforms. And before I sign off, I just want to say, Seattle, don't boo Cale Makar. And
Oh
go
God, I forgot about that.
and
I hope not either.
and go Colorado Avalanche.
Thank you for tuning into the Mile High Hockey Lab.